All right, so Nkoketse Sepogwane joins me now. He is the Deputy President of the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union. Good evening to you and welcome. After weeks of talks and deadlocks, we are here. Please share with our viewers what the rollout strike plan is for Monday.
Okay, good afternoon to you and your viewers. The plans have been discussed with our structures. This is how we had an alignment meeting with our provincial office bearers, the provincial chairs and secretaries, to outline our program for Monday, as we will be going on industrial election. And we have chosen strategic places where we're going to picket, even though the employer has been still in the process of agreeing on picketing rules, purposefully to try and continue with the narrative that the strike is unprotected and illegal, which is false on the basis that we have complied with all the nitty-gritties of the Labour Relations Act, including the constitution of the Bargaining Council, the Transnet Bargaining Council, which is governing the bargaining between us and the employer. So we are going to go full force on Monday. We're going to shut down all Transnet services so that until the employer comes back to the bargaining table and offers workers at least something that they deserve.
So let's just talk very quickly, if we can, Nkoketse, about the meeting with the CCMA on Monday. We know it's going to pivot around those, the provisions around picketing. What else are you going to discuss there?
Look, our intentions for the Monday thing, we do not even think that we're going to discuss things that are as easily agreeable as picketing rules. We thought we were going to go and have the CCMA conciliate on the wage agreement itself, but not picketing rules. We thought ourselves and the employer have such a solid relationship that we could agree on picketing rules. But we are seeing that the relationship that we thought we had with the employer is actually being eroded by the employer side due to not bargaining in good faith. So the CCMA 3 commissioners will then be forced to start where we could have actually agreed upon, to start with the picketing rules. But their purpose for intervention was not necessarily picketing rules. The picketing rules become part of what they are going to be assisting us with on the basis that the employer is not willing to agree on the picketing rules. Although they were submitted to the Bargaining Council before the actual meetings that we have had, so that the draft both from us and the other trade union that we're organizing with in Transnet, so that we can discuss them when we get to the Bargaining Council. When we go to the Bargaining Council, the employer just refused to talk to us about the picketing rules. Instead, they wanted to show us another presentation, but we rejected them and told them that they can't present to us up until we agree on the picketing rules with the union that we're organizing with at Transnet. So the commissioners were coming to actually bring us closer as parties, but not to discuss the issue of picketing rules. But of course, it will then become part of what they discuss is the employer is not willing to come to the table.
Yeah, quite concerning to note, just the distance between both yourselves and the employer. Transnet, for its part, is declaring a force majeure at ports. It's not new. They've done it before, scaling down their operations, and that is likely to have a major impact on bulk exports. Are you hoping that the potentially adverse effects are going to strengthen your hand?
No, look, our attempt of the strike is not to cripple the South African economy. We're a revolutionary trade union that believes that the trade union movement must always be sensitive to the economy. But of course, when you are faced with an employer that is not reasonable or maybe not fully aware of the impact to the economy, and they just bargain with us in an unfair way, then the economy will end up suffering. But our intention was to never stop the economy. We want to see the South African economy improve. We understand that it has suffered a great deal due to COVID-19 and the economical meltdown that is caused by COVID-19 globally. So we are of the view that we should have found an amicable solution to avert the strike. I mean, we started our negotiations very late. And we also want to put it on the table that even during the time that Transnet was talking about restructuring, we kept on warning the employer to be sensitive to cost, especially increasing of managers' executive salaries, because we knew that there's only one salary pot that they're going to be drawing from, and we knew that this year we have to negotiate.
Yeah.
So 18 months ago, when they went into reorganization, salaries were increased, people were redeployed. There was no financial sensitivity around reorganizing the organization. And as Labour, we have been up in arms trying to warn the employer not to increase salaries when the organization was already suffering from adverse economical things that it has gone through, some that were influenced by state capture, of course.
Well, let's think about the polarity in the demands and the offers. You're hovering at around 3 and 4%. you're hovering around 12 and 13%, I believe, or 12 and 13.5%. Employers hovering between 3 and 4%. That's quite a chasmic difference between the pair of you. What are the prospects then to arrive at a fair and decent, negotiated settlement?
Obviously, we're dependent on what the employer is offering. Remember, SATAW is a worker control trade union. As and when the employer gives an offer, we go and consult our members and also explain the offer extensively. And the members of the trade union, who are owners of the trade union, will then mandate us as their leadership to accept or reject the offer. But we know that workers have already suffered a great deal in terms of the economical challenges that we're having in South Africa. One being the petrol hikes, the tariff hikes, and so many other things. Their incomes have been reduced next to nothing. So we think that 12% to 13.5 is a reasonable offer for workers to actually uplift their living conditions, because currently workers are over-indebted as is, and COVID-19 really hit them hard because most of them lost overtime. Some of them had to stay at home. So that's why we're saying our offer, our request, our demand is actually quite reasonable, basing on how they increased managers' salaries when they were reorganizing. We're not asking anything next to what they did when they increased the salaries of executives. So we're quite reasonable. If they could do it for themselves to increase their salaries with about 300,000, some from 1.7 million to almost 2.2 million. So we know that the company's got capacity. Why does it not go to bargaining unit employees, that capacity of increasing salaries?
Nkoketse, out of interest, are you expecting a protracted strike? I mean, just how long are you expected to hold to your position?
Look, we have tried averting the strike. We do not want the strike, because we've even written to the Minister of Public Enterprise, Comrade Pravin Gordhan. We've written to Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, who's the President of the Republic, to try and intervene, because we wanted to avert a strike, especially as a SATAW, understanding the economical impact the strike will have if it does commence. But we're left with no option as workers but to go to the streets and bargain with the employee using our right to strike. But it was never our intention to take our employees to strike. We thought we were going to find amicable solutions towards the wage demand and the wage offers that are being offered by the employer. But remember, the employer started literally at virtually 0% and later on moved to 1%, then later on moved to 1.5%. So you can see. And then later on, when we submitted the notices to strike, the employer jumped to 3 to 4% or 3 plus 1% as the employers argued. And we could see that now you have been saying you don't have money. Now you can jump to almost double what you were offering. And these are some of the things that we're saying. Okay. It's unfair to workers, and workers are left with no option but to go to the streets so that they bring the employer back to the negotiating table and use their right to strike as one of the negotiating tools that is enshrined within our legal framework.
All right, so it's going to be an economically challenging week ahead, also logistically challenging week ahead. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective with us. Nkoketse Sepogwane is the Deputy President of the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union, promising that strike will be in full swing come Monday.